I paid $30,000 for my daughter's wedding. She chose my ex's new husband to walk her down the aisle and didn't invite me, so I pulled the plug and watched the fallout on security cameras. Alright, so let me see if I can get through this without flipping out again. I'm still so mad I can hardly type straight. My daughter, CIA, is 24, and last year she got engaged to this guy, Derek. I was over the moon for her because she seemed super stoked, and I thought, finally, something good for the family after all the craziness with the divorce and everything. For a bit of backstory, her mom, Abigail, and I split about 8 years ago. It was a total disaster because Abigail was cheating on me with this dude, Jones, who she eventually married. CIA was really mad at me for a long time because Abigail had convinced her that I was the bad guy, saying I was controlling and such, none of which was true. But, you know, kids believe what they believe. I hoped she'd come around, and she did, sort of. We started talking again when she turned 21. We'd chat on the phone, have monthly dinners, and it felt like things were improving. I was thrilled because CIA is my only kid, and despite everything, I love her to bits. So, when she got engaged, I offered to pay for the wedding because, well, that's what dads do, right? CIA was thrilled, showering me with thanks and hugs, saying how grateful she was and that she knew I'd always be there for her. It made me feel like, finally, we were getting back on track. She had big dreams for the wedding, and I kept agreeing to everything because I wanted her to have her perfect day. I hoped it would show her how much I loved her and how sorry I was for those lost years. Maybe this would finally fix our relationship. We started planning, and man, did the costs add up. The venue was $8,000, catering was $12,000 for 200 guests, flowers were $3,500, her dress was $2,800, and the photographer was $2,200. Altogether, it was about $30,000. But I didn't flinch because CIA was so happy and kept sharing pictures and updates, saying it was going to be the best day ever. I took care of all the payments because the vendors wanted deposits and such, and CIA was glad to let me handle the money side while she focused on planning. Things were going great for months. We were talking more than we had in years, and she involved me in decisions, asking for my opinions. I was so proud of the woman she'd become and couldn't wait to walk her down the aisle and have that special father-daughter moment. Then, about 6 weeks before the wedding, CIA started acting weird and distant. Whenever I called, she'd be short with me, and she'd tell me not to worry about wedding details. I got this uneasy feeling, but I brushed it off as just wedding stress. Brides get stressed, right? Then, 4 weeks out, we were supposed to meet up with CIA and the wedding planner, but she canceled last minute, saying she'd handle it herself. Every time I tried to check in after that, she kept brushing me off. Finally, 2 weeks before the wedding, I drove to her place because she hadn't returned my calls in days. Derek answered looking super uncomfortable and claimed CIA wasn't feeling well. I knew he was lying, but I didn't want to cause a scene. The next day, CIA called with this cold, formal tone, and my heart just sank. She said she and Derek wanted a more intimate wedding with just close friends and family. I suggested we just trim the guest list, but she insisted I didn't get it. She said that since her mom and Jones had been more involved in her life, they decided Jones should be the one to walk her down the aisle. I was floored. I couldn't speak because it felt like a punch in the gut. I asked her what she meant, and she said that even though she appreciated everything I did financially, Jones was more of a father to her. She wanted him to give her away. I lost it. I yelled, asking how she could do this after everything. I reminded her I was her real dad, the one who paid for everything, and she couldn't just replace me with the guy who wrecked our family. She yelled back that money doesn't make someone a dad and that I abandoned her when she needed me most, while Jones was there for her. We argued for ages, with her throwing all sorts of accusations, like I missed her graduation and birthdays. I tried explaining her mom blocked me every chance she got, but CIA called those excuses. She claimed if I really wanted to be there, I would have found a way. It hurt because I thought we'd been rebuilding something genuine, and I actually thought she wanted me in her life again. She ultimately said I was just a checkbook to her and that Jones was walking her down the aisle, and if I didn't like it, I didn't have to come. So I snapped and said maybe I won't, to which she responded, great, she didn't want me there anyway, and hung up. I sat there, in shock. A week passed, and I didn't hear from her. I thought she'd call, apologize, or try to talk it through, but nothing. Then Derek called, saying they'd decided I wasn't invited to the wedding at all. Jones would do the father-daughter dance too, taking over all the father roles. I asked if she knew I paid for everything, and Derek awkwardly confirmed she did. She considered it my wedding gift to them. I hung up, too angry to speak. That whole day, I wandered around my house, trying to piece together what just happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, wondering where I went wrong and why CIA seemed to despise me. You wouldn't believe the roller coaster I was on when I found out my daughter basically cut me out of her wedding plans. I was furious, wandering around my living room at 3 a.m., too mad to sleep. So, the next morning, I called my lawyer to see if I could get my money back, only to hear that it was pretty unlikely since it was a gift. He did suggest trying the vendors, though, so I gave it a shot. Most of them couldn't refund me, but a couple were willing to work with me. This got me thinking, why should I just sit back and let her treat me like an ATM? So, instead of asking for my money back, I went ahead and canceled everything. I told the vendors I was the one who paid, and I wanted it all called off. Some freaked out because the wedding was only 10 days away, but in the end, they complied. The venue was the toughest because they'd already planned everything. After threatening to sue, they agreed to cancel but kept half the deposit. Whatever, I just wanted it done. By the end of the week, I was down $8,000 in deposits, but honestly, I was just too mad to care. I didn't even tell Sia that I'd canceled everything. I kind of wanted her to feel what I was feeling. I know, sounds harsh, but I was hoping she'd understand you can't treat people like that. The week before the wedding was a mess for me. Sometimes I thought about reaching out to Sia, but then I'd remember all the hurtful stuff she said, and I'd get angry again. A few days before the wedding, her friend Jessica called, saying Sia was stressed and crying, asking if I was gonna come. I told her I wasn't invited, and Jessica was shocked because Sia had been asking about me. Seems like there was a lot of miscommunication, but I just couldn't shake off what Sia had said about me. The day before the wedding, I was a wreck, thinking maybe I should fix it, but I just couldn't. Then, later that day, the venue called to confirm the cancellation, and I told them they should probably let Sia know directly. Soon after, Sia called me, furious and crying, asking why I ruined her wedding. I told her that since I wasn't invited, I didn't see why I should pay for it. She insisted there was a misunderstanding and said I was always invited, but I couldn't believe her. We argued for an hour, but she couldn't convince me I wasn't just a backup plan when things went wrong. I ended the call, ignoring her subsequent attempts to reach me. On the day of the wedding, I felt awful, wondering if I'd messed up. But every time I thought about what she'd said, my anger flared up again. And yeah, I ended up watching a live feed of the empty venue. It was weirdly satisfying and depressing to see guests show up to nothing, wondering what was up. Sia arrived, confused and panicked, trying to figure out what had happened, and there I was, just watching. It was all just so surreal. So here's the deal. I could see she was scrambling, trying to figure out what to do next. I mean, a part of me did feel bad since she looked really freaked out and desperate, but honestly, I mostly felt justified. This is kinda what happens when you don't treat your dad right. I watched Sierra dart around the venue, chatting with the staff and making a bunch of calls, probably trying to get a hold of the vendors to see if they could still come through. Surprise, surprise, they couldn't. Everything was called off, and they had other gigs to go to. You can't just throw a $30,000 wedding back together on the day of with no warning. More and more guests kept showing up, all dressed up for a big party, and instead, they found chaos and Sierra in her wedding dress having a total meltdown. You had people trying to comfort her and others just standing around awkwardly. Some folks started leaving after hanging out for an hour. The worst bit? Watching her dress get all muddy. She was running around outside on this rainy, muddy ground, and by 3 p.m., her gorgeous white dress looked like it had been through a war zone. Abigail and Jones got there around 2 p.m., trying to calm her down. But really, what could they do? You can't just magically make a wedding appear. I was wondering if Sierra was telling them what I did and if they were blaming me for this whole mess. By 4 p.m., most people had bailed, and it was just Sierra, Derek, and a few family members left, looking lost in this big, empty venue. Sierra was still in her muddy dress, crying her eyes out. Derek tried to hold her, but she kept pushing him away, having a full-on breakdown. I watched for another hour or so, and eventually, everyone left. The place was a mess, with a few staff cleaning up. Sierra was gone, probably back home or to a hotel to figure out her next move. I switched off the camera feed and just sat there, wondering what I'd done. That night, Sierra sent me a text saying, "I will never forgive you for this." I shot back, "Good. Now you know how it feels." And that was it. We haven't talked for 3 weeks now, and I don't think we ever will. People keep asking if I regret it, and honestly, I'm torn. Part of me is glad I stood up for myself and didn't let her walk all over me. But another part realizes I might have wrecked any chance of having a relationship with my daughter. My sister thinks I'm an idiot and says I should have been the bigger person, just gone to the wedding even if I wasn't walking her down the aisle, and maybe we could have fixed things later. But I think it's because Sierra made it clear she didn't want me there and was just using me for money. My brother, on the other hand, says Sierra got what was coming to her, that you can't treat people like garbage and expect them to keep throwing you cash. But I don't think Sierra learned anything except that I'm a cruel dad who wrecked her big day. Some buddies think canceling a wedding last minute is just too harsh, no matter what Sierra did, and that I should have found another way. But honestly, what were my options? Talking didn't work, and she'd already decided I wasn't good enough to be her dad. I keep going back and forth, feeling justified one minute and like a monster the next for ruining my daughter's wedding day. I don't know if I'm the bad guy here, or if Sierra is, or if we both are. But our relationship's probably toast, and I can't decide if I care anymore. I'm just tired of getting hurt and tired of trying to earn love and respect when she clearly thinks I don't deserve it. So, Reddit, am I in the wrong for pulling the plug on my daughter's wedding after she told me I couldn't come and wanted her stepfather instead? Or did she get what she had coming for treating me like dirt? Update, I didn't think this would blow up like it did. I've been reading your comments, and I'm surprised by how split everyone is. I thought for sure everyone would call me the bad guy, but a lot of people seem to think Sierra got what was coming to her, and that actually makes me feel a bit better. Some folks asked for more background about what went down between Sierra and me over the years, so here goes. A lot of you seem to think I was a deadbeat dad, but that's not true. When Abigail and I split, Sierra was 16 and really angry. Abigail fed her all kinds of lies, turning her against me. Anytime I tried to see or talk to Sierra, Abigail would make it hard or impossible. I legally had joint custody, but Abigail would always schedule stuff during my weekends, making me look unreasonable for asking to reschedule. Sierra started believing I didn't care about spending time with her because Abigail was poisoning her against me. I tried hard to keep a relationship during those last 2 years of high school, but Sierra lived full-time with Abigail, who was in control, making me the bad guy. Eventually, Sierra stopped wanting to see or talk to me and wouldn't come to my place on my weekends. When she turned 18, she cut me off completely. I tried for years to reach out, but she blocked me on everything, and Abigail wouldn't tell me anything about how Sierra was doing or where she was. I sent birthday cards and Christmas presents for years, but never knew if she got them because she never replied. I felt like I was sending things into a void and wondered if I should just let her live her life without me since that's what she seemed to want. Sierra finally reached out when she turned 21, wanting to grab coffee. I was so excited I could barely keep it together. When we met, she apologized for cutting me off, saying she was angry and confused and that Abigail had told her a lot of lies. We started rebuilding our relationship, though it was tough with all the hurt and mistrust. But I was grateful to have her back in my life, even if it wasn't perfect. So, when people say I abandoned her, it's not fair. I tried to stay involved, but Abigail made it impossible and Sierra believed her mom's lies, choosing to cut me off. Anyway, since I posted this, I found out Sierra had a total meltdown after everyone left the wedding and ended up in the hospital. Derek's mom called to tell me, saying she thought I should know. I felt bad knowing Sierra was in the hospital, but mostly just numb because I'm so tired of all the guilt and tired of people expecting me to fix things when Sierra started this whole mess. Derek's mom also said Sierra and Derek postponed their honeymoon indefinitely, and Sierra's been staying with Abigail, refusing to see anyone, crying all the time, and not eating. Everyone's really worried about her. I know some of you think I should reach out and try to patch things up, but I honestly don't know what I'd say. I'm still so angry and hurt, and I don't think Sierra's really sorry about what she did, just sorry her wedding got ruined. So, if I hadn't hit the brakes on everything, she probably never would have said sorry for treating me like crap. Abigail called me yesterday, completely losing it for like 10 minutes, saying I'm a terrible dad, that I wrecked Sia's life, and throwing around words like cruel and vindictive. I just let her go on because, frankly, I was expecting it, and I honestly don't give a damn what Abigail thinks of me anymore. She's claiming Sia never actually banned me from the wedding and that there was this big misunderstanding with dear Eric, but let's be real, that's because Sia and I had this massive blowout where she said some really nasty stuff. I told Abigail if Sia wanted to fix things, she could call me herself and apologize for real, not just because her wedding plans tanked, but for all those hurtful things she said and for treating me like I was just her personal ATM. But Abigail said Sia's too heartbroken to talk to anyone right now. I'm honestly not sure if Sia and I will ever patch things up, and maybe that's actually for the best because I'm exhausted from trying to win her love and walking on eggshells when it's clear she doesn't think I'm worth it. Some folks asked if I'd do it all over again, and hell yeah, I would, because Sia needed to learn she can't just treat people like trash and expect them to keep supporting her financially. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for her to think twice before lashing out at the people who care about her. Sure, canceling the wedding was a big move, but Sia's behavior was over the top too. And there's nothing wrong with standing your ground when someone's mistreating you, even if it's your own kid. Update number 2, things have gotten even crazier since my last update, and I'm honestly not sure whether to laugh or cry. It's all so ridiculous, and I can't believe this is my life right now. So, last week, dear Eric showed up at my place out of the blue. I almost didn't open the door, thinking he was here to rip into me for messing up his wedding. But when I let him in, man, he looked like a zombie, like he hadn't slept in ages and was surviving on pure coffee and stress. Dear Eric said he had stuff to tell me about what went down before the wedding. I almost shut the door on him, but curiosity got the best of me. So, I made us some coffee and let him spill the beans. Turns out, dear Eric had been digging around since the wedding fiasco. He found out that Abigail and Jones had been putting the squeeze on Sia for months to nix me from the wedding. Sia was apparently torn about what to do, which explains why she was acting all weird and distant. Dear Eric said Abigail kept feeding Sia lies about me abandoning her when she was younger, only coming back into her life when it suited me, and trying to buy her love with money. She even suggested cutting me out of her life completely to start fresh. Then there's Jones, who apparently thought he should walk Sia down the aisle instead of me. Abigail pushed this idea hard, saying Jones had been more of a dad during Sia's teen years and it would be more meaningful if he gave her away. Dear Eric explained Sia was caught in the middle, not wanting to hurt Abigail and Jones, and was pressured into a decision she was conflicted about. Apparently, excluding me from the wedding wasn't really her idea, and she was being manipulated by Abigail and Jones to hurt me. They saw the wedding as their chance to drive a permanent wedge between Sia and me. Dear Eric confided that when Sia was saying those horrible things about me being just a checkbook and Jones being more of a father, she was basically parroting what Abigail had been feeding her for weeks. Sia was confused, angry, and just lashing out while feeling trapped by everyone's expectations. I asked Dear Eric why he was sharing all this now, and he explained that after the wedding disaster, Sia had a complete meltdown. She admitted she made a huge mistake and never wanted to exclude me, but felt pressured to take sides. Dear Eric said Sia has been a wreck since the wedding, beating herself up for losing her dad forever, and regretting listening to Abigail and Jones. She wishes she'd stood her ground and insisted I be there. Hearing all this should have made me feel vindicated, but mostly I just felt drained and sad. It confirmed what I'd suspected all along. That Abigail's been poisoning Sia against me and Sia's still letting her manipulate her. Dear Eric mentioned Sia wants to reach out, but she's too ashamed and embarrassed to know how to apologize. She's convinced I hate her now and will never forgive her. I told Dear Eric I don't hate Sia, but I'm still really hurt and angry, and I'm unsure if we can fix things. He understood but hoped I'd consider giving her another shot because she's truly sorry and loves me. Dear Eric also revealed he and Sia are having serious marriage problems. She's so down and full of guilt she can't function, spends her time crying and blaming herself, and they're living in separate bedrooms. Derek's worried she might harm herself if things don't improve. After Dear Eric left, I sat around for hours thinking about everything he told me, trying to process how I felt and if it changed anything, pondering whether I should reach out or wait for Sia to do it. I couldn't shake off what Dear Eric said about Sia being depressed and potentially suicidal. Even though I'm upset with her, I don't want anything bad to happen because she's still my daughter, and I love her, despite the hurt. 2 days after Dear Eric's visit, I got a call from Jessica, Sia's friend. Sia had asked her to call me since she was too scared to do it herself. Jessica relayed that Sia was really sorry, misses me, regrets what happened, and loves me. She knows if I never want to see her again, that's on her, but she hopes one day I might forgive her and that she's willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I told Jessica I appreciated Sia reaching out through her, but if Sia really wants to apologize, she needs to call me directly and have a real talk about what happened, why it happened, and how she'll ensure it doesn't happen again. Jessica said she'd pass on the message and hoped Sia would find the courage to contact me. We left it at that. I've been waiting for Sia to call, but she hasn't yet. Meanwhile, Abigail keeps calling, accusing me of ruining Sia's life and saying I need to fix this, calling me cruel and vindictive, her usual spiel. I finally told her that if she hadn't spent years trying to turn Sia against me, none of this would have happened. She was just as responsible for the disaster as anyone else. Abigail denied manipulating Sia, claiming Sia made her own choices and I'm just scapegoating. But I know Abigail's full of it because Dear Eric already laid it all out for me. I also told Abigail if she truly cared about Sia, she'd stop meddling in our relationship and let us work things out without her constant interference. But Abigail insisted she'll always protect Sia from me because she thinks I'm toxic and harmful. The whole situation is just nuts. Wow, I'm just so over all the drama and games. Dealing with Abigail using CIA as a sort of weapon against me is exhausting. And then there's Sia, letting her mom call all the shots in her life. I honestly don't know if Sia and I can even have a real relationship anymore, given all the hurt that's gone down on both sides. It feels like too much has happened for us to get past, and I'm struggling to see if we can ever trust each other again. However, I do feel a bit less angry knowing that Abigail and Jones were pulling the strings with CIA. Still, it's hard to get over the fact that CIA went along with it instead of defending what we had. I'm really unsure about what comes next and whether CIA will ever muster up the courage to call and really talk about this mess. But I've spent years waiting for her to decide if she wants me in her life, and I'm done just waiting around. So, here's the last update. I'm really ready to move on and stop replaying all the CIA drama in my head. 2 weeks ago, she finally called. We had the tough talk we'd been pushed to have by dear Eric and Jessica, and honestly, it was as uncomfortable as I anticipated. It felt like we didn't resolve much besides both ending up in tears. CIA did apologize, admitting she let Abigail and Jones manipulate her and that she should have fought for our relationship, especially about the wedding situation. She said she regretted saying hurtful things and never intended to cut me out. The pressure from Abigail and Jones just got to her and she made some bad calls while trying to keep everyone happy. Her apology felt sincere, and I could sense her regret, but it also seemed a bit late since so much damage was done. I told CIA I appreciated her words, but I was still hurt and angry, and it would take time to heal and consider if we could ever go back to what we once had. She started crying, asking for another chance, and said she couldn't handle the guilt. We ended up talking, and crying, for almost 2 hours. By the end, I was emotionally exhausted and unsure if we'd actually resolved anything or just reopened old wounds. CIA wants to start over, but I told her I need some time to think. I can't make any promises about the future of our relationship, and she has to accept that it might not ever be the same. Since our chat, Sia's been texting regularly, sending pictures of stuff that reminds her of me, and trying to start conversations. It seems a bit forced to me, though. I'm responding politely but keeping it short because I don't want to give her false hope when I'm still unsure. Derek's been filling me in on CIA's progress. She's started therapy and is taking medication for depression. Apparently, she's working on setting boundaries with Abigail and Jones. He mentioned a big blowout between CIA and Abigail recently when CIA confronted her about meddling in our relationship. They haven't talked since. CIA and Derek are doing better in their marriage, planning a small ceremony with just close family since their first wedding was a mess. Derek asked if I'd consider attending if invited, and I said it would depend on my and CIA's relationship by then and whether I felt comfortable around Abigail and Jones. I'm still conflicted because, on one hand, I do want a relationship with CIA. I miss her and love her despite everything. But I'm also scared of getting hurt again and worried about Abigail's influence over her going forward. Maybe I'm being cynical, but I've been disappointed so many times that I'm wary of going through it all again. For now, CIA and I are in this awkward phase where we're talking, but we're not really close. We're tiptoeing around each other's feelings, and it doesn't feel natural or comfortable. I'm seeing a therapist too, since all this drama has taken a toll, and I needed someone to talk to other than Reddit. My therapist advised me to focus on what I want for the future instead of dwelling on what I wish had happened in the past. That's where things stand. CIA and I are talking, but things aren't really okay. I'm trying to figure out what I want and whether rebuilding a shaky relationship is worth it. Some might say I should give CIA another chance, while others think I should cut my losses. I see the pros and cons of both and am still figuring it out. What I do know is that I'm done letting other people's drama run my life, done with walking on eggshells, and sacrificing my well-being for people who don't value it. Thanks, Reddit, for listening to my drama and offering support and perspectives. It's helped me think things through and understand what truly matters to me moving forward.